the nature of the mind and the path to awakening. Understanding the nature of the mind is crucial for spiritual awakening and inner peace. Transcending the mind's limitations and discovering a deeper sense of harmony and freedom through the understanding of the Tao. One of the most important teachings in Taoism is the advice to maintain a natural state of being, avoiding excessive use of intellect and constant mental activity. The more natural you are, the closer you are to the Tao. Many people may not recognize that, more often than not, their own minds are the root of their suffering. The mind is supposed to be your tool, but more than 95% of the time, you are enslaved by it, becoming a victim of compulsive thinking. That's why Laozi said, "The heart does not die, the Tao cannot be born." If you want to awaken and minimize your suffering, pay close attention to this video, and you might suddenly realize why you've been trapped in pain, anxiety, and emotions without escape. Alright, let's get straight to the point. Part 1. Understanding the Mind. 5 key insights from Taoist philosophy. The mind has 5 characteristics that inevitably lead to suffering. The mind is an extraordinary tool, but it often becomes a source of suffering when we mistake it for our true self. In Taoist philosophy, understanding the mind's nature is crucial for spiritual awakening and inner peace. Here are 5 key characteristics of the mind that shed light on why it can be both a powerful ally and a formidable obstacle on the path to enlightenment. The first characteristic is, the mind thinks in dualities. The mind is inherently dualistic, always operating within a framework of opposites. Good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure. It constantly categorizes and judges everything, constructing a world split into binaries. This habitual tendency to divide reality into black and white often leads to inner conflict and suffering. When we label something as bad, we instinctively resist it, creating tension, dissatisfaction, and a sense of separation from what is. On the other hand, when we label something as good, we become attached to it, clinging tightly in fear of its inevitable loss. This dualistic thinking obscures the deeper truth, the unity of all things, the interconnectedness that Taoism so profoundly emphasizes. The Tao exists beyond the limits of dualities. It embraces all opposites, harmonizing them within a greater, indivisible whole. By becoming aware of the mind's natural inclination to think in binaries, we open ourselves to a more expansive perspective. We start to perceive life not as a series of fragmented opposites, but as a seamless, interconnected flow of experiences. In this awareness, we move closer to living in harmony with the Tao, experiencing life in its true wholeness and simplicity. The second characteristic is, the mind is conditioned by the past. Our minds are deeply influenced by the tapestry of past experiences and the subtle, yet powerful, conditioning of society. We carry with us the cumulative weight of our past karma, the echoes of our actions and their lingering consequences, as well as the expectations that society relentlessly imposes upon us. For example, if we've suffered betrayal in a relationship, our minds may become guarded, approaching future relationships with a sense of suspicion and wariness, colored by the pain we've previously endured. In a similar vein, societal values, such as the relentless pursuit of wealth, status, or success, mold our thinking, often leading to feelings of inadequacy or failure when we don't measure up to these external benchmarks. However, these beliefs and judgments are not absolute truths. They are mental constructs, shaped and solidified over time. Yet, we frequently mistake these constructs for reality, allowing them to dictate our perceptions, choices, and actions. This conditioning turns us into prisoners of our past experiences and society's expectations, blinding us to the present moment and obscuring our ability to see things as they truly are. We become entangled in a web of preconceived notions and outdated beliefs, which hinders our capacity to live freely, authentically, and in harmony with the deeper truth of life. By recognizing and questioning these mental patterns, we can begin to liberate ourselves from their grip, opening the door to a more expansive and unconditioned way of being. The third characteristic is, the mind is obsessed with control. The mind has an insatiable craving for control, constantly striving to manage and manipulate outcomes, events, and even the behavior of others. It seeks to create a sense of predictability and order in a world that is inherently unpredictable and chaotic. This desire for control manifests in endless cycles of planning, worrying, and overthinking, as the mind tries to anticipate every possible scenario and steer life in a desired direction. Yet, no matter how much we attempt to orchestrate our surroundings, life remains beyond our full grasp, often unfolding in ways that defy our expectations and plans. This relentless obsession with control becomes a breeding ground for anxiety and frustration. The more we cling to the illusion of control, the more we fear its inevitable loss. We become fixated on potential future disasters, perpetually anxious about what might go wrong. Simultaneously, we dwell on past mistakes, endlessly replaying them in our minds and regretting what we could not control. This dual focus on the uncertain future and the unchangeable past traps us in a cycle of stress and dissatisfaction, robbing us of the peace and fulfillment that can only be found in the present moment. By being overly preoccupied with control, we miss the richness of life as it naturally unfolds in the here and now. The present moment, with all its unpredictability and spontaneity, is where true life happens, where beauty, joy, and genuine experiences reside. When we release our grip on the need for control and allow life to flow as it will, we open ourselves to a deeper connection with reality. We begin to experience life in its full vibrancy, embracing both its uncertainties and its surprises, and finding a greater sense of peace and contentment in the process. The fourth characteristic is, the mind is restless and never satisfied. The mind is a relentless wanderer, perpetually in motion, leaping from one thought to another, from one desire to the next. Much like a restless monkey, it refuses to settle, always searching for the next object of attachment, the next goal to pursue, or the next worry to dwell upon. This ceaseless activity creates an internal whirlwind, where even moments of calm are fleeting, quickly replaced by new waves of thought and desire. The mind craves novelty and stimulation, constantly reaching for something just out of grasp, convinced that fulfillment lies in the next achievement, possession, or experience. Yet, even when we attain what we seek, whether it be success, material wealth, or personal milestones, the satisfaction is often short-lived. The initial joy or relief quickly fades, and the mind, insatiable in its hunger, shifts its focus to the next target. This leaves us in a perpetual state of yearning, always on the lookout for the next thing to chase. The mind's insatiable nature ensures that no achievement or possession can ever bring lasting contentment. Instead, it drives us deeper into a cycle of wanting and craving, where each new desire only leads to further dissatisfaction. This endless pursuit is a profound source of suffering. We find ourselves perpetually chasing after something, a promotion, a relationship, a sense of security. But once it is in our hands, the mind is already elsewhere, planning its next conquest or worrying about what could go wrong. The momentary happiness we experience is overshadowed by a lingering emptiness, a sense that something is still missing. As long as we are caught in this restless state, true contentment remains elusive, always just beyond our reach. To break free from this cycle, we must recognize the mind's restless nature and its inability to find lasting satisfaction in external things. True peace and fulfillment come not from chasing after desires, but from cultivating a deeper sense of presence and acceptance within ourselves. By learning to quiet the mind and appreciate the present moment, we can transcend this restless state and discover a more enduring sense of contentment and inner peace. The fifth characteristic is, the mind creates a false sense of self. The mind is a master architect, constantly constructing and reconstructing an identity from the building blocks of thoughts, memories, beliefs, and social roles. This constructed identity, or self, becomes the central character in the story we tell ourselves about who we are. It is a persona shaped by our past experiences, cultural conditioning, and the expectations of others. Over time, this self becomes firmly entrenched, leading us to believe that it is who we truly are. However, this sense of self is fundamentally flawed, an illusion created by the mind to give structure and meaning to our experiences. This constructed self feels separate from others and the world around us, fostering a sense of isolation, fear, and insecurity. We perceive ourselves as distinct entities, cut off from the wholeness of existence, which naturally gives rise to a constant undercurrent of unease. We become deeply attached to this false self, investing enormous energy in defending it, enhancing it, and protecting it from perceived threats. Whether we are striving for success, seeking validation, or trying to avoid failure, much of our life becomes centered around the maintenance of this illusory identity. Yet, this self that we so fervently cling to is nothing more than a mental construct, a collection of fleeting thoughts and stories that do not reflect our true essence. It is a shadow, a reflection of deeper, unconscious fears and desires, rather than the reality of who we are. The mind, in its desire for control and certainty, convinces us that this self is real and must be preserved at all costs. But this belief only leads to suffering, as we live in constant fear of losing this identity, whether through failure, rejection, aging, or the inevitability of death. This fear is the root of much of our anxiety and pain. We dread the loss of this self because we have come to equate it with our very existence. But the truth is that this self is not who we truly are. It is a mask, a facade, that hides our deeper nature, a nature that is beyond any label, thought, or identity. Our true essence is boundless and infinite, connected to all of existence, and not confined by the narrow definitions the mind imposes. True peace and liberation come from recognizing the illusion of this false self and understanding that it is a product of the mind's need for structure and certainty. When we see through this illusion, we begin to disidentify from the false self and connect with our true nature, which is beyond all thought and identity. This realization allows us to live with a profound sense of freedom and inner peace, no longer driven by the fears and insecurities that arise from clinging to an illusory sense of self. In this space of awareness, we discover that our true being is already whole, complete, and at one with the universe. Part 2. Awakening from the mind. Understanding these 5 characteristics of the mind illuminates the path to liberation from its influence. As we deepen our awareness of the mind's workings, we gradually lessen its grip on our lives. We start to discern the illusions it casts and come to recognize that our true essence transcends its dualities, judgments, controls, restlessness, and the false sense of self it constructs. When we cease to identify with the mind and its incessant chatter, we awaken to the reality of the Tao, the intrinsic flow of life that pervades all existence, imbued with peace and free from suffering. This awakening is not about renouncing thought or abandoning our mental faculties. Rather, it is about liberating ourselves from being enslaved by them. We learn to utilize the mind as a tool, employing it as necessary, but we no longer let it dictate our sense of self or our experience of reality. Instead, we align ourselves with the Tao, embracing life's fluctuations with a sense of equanimity and grace. The mind, while a powerful instrument, is not the essence of who we are. By acknowledging its limitations and learning to see beyond its confines, we break free from the cycle of suffering it perpetuates. In doing so, we open ourselves to the profound peace and freedom that comes from harmonizing with the Tao. This alignment with the Tao allows us to experience life in its truest form, unfettered by the illusions and disturbances of the mind. As we navigate life from this place of awareness, we cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves and our connection to the world. We recognize that our essence is not defined by the mind's dualities or its relentless pursuit of control and validation. Instead, we discover a state of being that is serene and unshakable, rooted in the natural order of existence. This state of harmony and presence enables us to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion, embracing both joy and adversity as integral aspects of our journey. In this awakened state, we find that the mind serves its rightful purpose, enhancing our experience rather than dominating it, and we live fully, authentically, and in alignment with the profound wisdom of the Tao. Thank you for watching until the end. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and share it with your friends, so more people can transcend the mind's limitations and discovering a deeper sense of harmony and freedom through the understanding of the Tao.